very trending, and I use it a lot also in interviews. Whenever you hear a question, yes, whenever you hear a question, any question that starts with tell me a time when, or tell me about a time when, what did you do? What was the outcome? Whenever you hear any of these in any of the questions in interviews, it means it's a behavioral question. Tell me about the time when you faced a conflict in your university, and how did you resolve it? This is a behavioral question. And behavioral questions means that they want to see how you reacted, what did you do in the past, to see how would you react and what will you do in the future. In similar cases, they start asking you, have you ever faced an issue with your direct manager? Have you ever faced an issue while working on a project with a team? And how did you resolve it? So I want you to remember a very important method, which is this. SAR, SAR. And in order for you to remember it, just remember شو صار. احنا كلنا عرب. شو صار? SAR module. It's situation, action, result. You start with the situation. They tell me about the time where you faced an issue with your teammates or with your manager. You start with the situation. Yes, I remember this time where we had a conflict where a customer came to the store and we had a conflict with a customer, but the manager didn't listen to my point of view. You explain the situation. Then you go to the action. What action did you take? I took my manager aside, I explained to him or her what did I do, how did I resolve it, that everything was fine with the client, using proper communication skills. So here you're telling them that you're a good communicator, and you are calm, and you are professional. Then we go to the R, which is the result. What was the result? Your manager saw that there's a gap. There was a gap in communication between the store management, yourself, and the client. So they fixed this gap. That was the result of what you've done. Always use the SAR module. It will make it so much easier for you to answer, and keep your answer less than 60 seconds. There's a book about interviews called Get Hired in Less Than 60 Seconds. So all your answers should be less than 60 seconds during the interview. All the questions, try to limit them less than 60 seconds, unless they ask you for more examples. Can you clarify more? Can you give me another example? You start taking it a bit longer. But per question. Yeah, not the whole interview. So, the SAR module is very important in formulating your answers to the recruiters. It will make it clear for you and for them. Don't feel like you need to close the gaps. If you feel the recruiter is silent, you're answering and they're like looking at the paper or whatever, don't feel like you need to close the gaps and keep on talking. No, they are in control, and give them this feeling that they are in control of the interview. So tell them at the end of your answer, tell them, so this is what happened. If you would like more examples, I will be more than happy to provide you with. And smile and look at them so they can continue leading the interview.
I have a question concerning the situation in action. If we, for example, I was asked for something, but I had a bad situation, it was a bad, not necessarily a bad situation, but the action that I did was bad. How do I say it?
Okay, you avoid this. Forget about it in the interview. The action that you did is bad, we don't mention it.
A situation that I actually acted badly.
Okay, so this is the situation, not the result. This is you acted badly.
The situation is X. I did Y, which wasn't very good.
Yes.
I had to answer the question. How do I answer?
Okay, but the recruiter is asking you, tell me about a time where you took a wrong decision.
Maybe he was looking at my CV, like I said, that I did at the company, this and this and this. Maybe the action that I had to say was including something that I didn't do.
Okay, so you took a bad decision, right?
For example.
Okay, the recruiter will ask you, tell me about a time where you made a bad decision, or tell me about this time where you made a bad decision. You shouldn't mention it on your CV. It shouldn't be that. If they ask you about a time where you made a bad decision, this is the situation. So you start with it, there was a time where I did something wrong. they ask a lot, tell me about a time where you made a mistake.
Yeah.
You start with the mistake, this is the situation, how did you handle it? What did you do, the action after the mistake, and what was the result after that? Here you need to formulate your answer around it, situation, action, result. So you start with the mistake and then you end it with a positive result. The result should always be positive, always. So someone asks me, and I say that I did this, and then at the end I messed up everything. And if you need more information, I would read all the thing. No. What do you mean?
انه ما صار معنا شيء عملنا ميستيك او شيء انه
ما صار مع situation.
Most of the time you need to prepare yourself to have something in mind.
Okay.
Because everyone did a mistake.
فينا نخترع.
You can, but not تخترع. You can يعني شوي exaggerate, but don't lie. Because a good recruiter would figure it out. I start asking you questions. Okay, tell me here, what happened? So I start figuring out that you're creating something. So everyone did a mistake, right? Of course. Hold your phone. Hold your phone, record yourself, and see if you believe yourself. Say the question, but guys, do not lie in interviews. Do not lie in CVs. The good recruiters will figure it out. And once they figure it out, you're out of there. There's no coming back out of it. If they know that you're lying, there's no going back. You cannot convince them to take you again. In Dubai or in the Gulf, if you get an interview and you get an offer and you get the job, and then after 10 years, we figure out that you lied about something in your CV, it's immediate termination without compensation. Immediate termination. Even after 20 years, if you lied in your application, you're out of there. Everything. So don't lie in your applications. Be honest and be straightforward. And when they ask you, don't try to manipulate the question. You will lose the attention of the recruiter. Practice your answers, and using this module is very important. And keep it short and simple. Only the first question, which is, most people hate this question, tell me about yourself. How would you answer this question? It's an example of unstructured questions or unstructured answers. There's no proper way to answer this question.
I have to answer.
How would you answer?
They gave me a phone call, and one of the directors asked me, can you tell me about yourself? I told him, contradictory to being born in Lebanon, I grew up in South Africa for most of my youth. It was a beautiful country, diverse in culture, ethnicity. I made plenty of friends, and I'm still in contact with my best friend over there, and over the weekend we would go to his place or he would come over to my place. We would get stuff related to electricity, hardware. That's too long?
It was dragging.
It was dragging.
It was dragging. You can use South Africa. You can use, this is very important what you said, that you are getting electronics and playing with them. It's very important, but it's irrelevant. The South African friends, it's irrelevant. You can mention it like very quickly and just try to mention things that are relevant to the position you're applying for. I can introduce myself. Don't start with my name is. A lot of people would say, tell me about yourself. My name is Ziad Moghrabi. I graduated from Hariri Canadian University.
This is already written.
Sorry?
This is already written in the CV.
Exactly, but a lot of people do that. And they start mentioning things in their CV. Yes.
Is it good to highlight an international background?
Of course. Which means you have.
mentioned التدريب نرجع من الفوتبول.
What does it mean that you have international background?
يعني مثلا education in certain countries أنا أكيد university والله هيدا مش إنه intercultural skills.
What can you take from it, international background? What does it mean?
The interaction with people from different backgrounds.
Exactly. You have very good communication skills. You are exposed to people with different backgrounds, different cultures, different ethnicities. The people you interact with, you can handle them. You can resolve maybe issues. You are a good communicator. Maybe you can face the clients, international clients. So try to take what saying only international background is something. Some recruiters will take this out of it but try to emphasize what will it give you. What can you benefit from this international background? Okay, I'll tell you an example. If I'm going to buy an iPhone, and they tell me the processor is, I'm not technically good, but the processor is this much, and the camera has 100 megapixels. Or the salesperson will tell me, look how good the camera is taking, for example, objects in low light, and they show me. So they are showing me that the 100 megapixels, what it can do. So there's a difference between the skill that you have and how you can use it. Focus on how you can use it and what the other person can benefit from it. It will make me buy the iPhone because he showed me what the camera would do, not because it has 12 megapixels and that's it. Okay, cool.
If I use the traffic cloud system and I found that the yellow color is more than the red and the green, what I should do?
You should start making it green.
And
If it's
I'm having
qualification,
experience, I'm not sure that I have and the skills that make me do this job or this position.
mm.
And I should
So yellow is basically when they ask you what are the areas of improvement or what are your weaknesses. You can use the yellow. You take the yellow and you do more research about it. If you don't have the practical knowledge, you can start with the theoretical knowledge, which is studying online, getting a certain certificate, a certain training, etc. So you can start building on it so you are confident enough. If they ask you in the interview about it, you know what to answer. So do you know, for example, how to program, how to code? You learned it in university. You weren't very good in university at it. They mentioned it in the job description. It's in yellow. So you start doing your research and training yourself and actually asking people around you, what does it mean, how can you help me, etc. Information is key. Take as much information as you can so you are confident enough to explain whatever they ask you for.
The thing that we just said depends about, we always have to sell benefits, not features, because they attract the person we are talking to, the audience better. And when we talk about the benefits, that's what is an electrician, rather than the features.
Exactly, that's what we were saying. That what's the difference between a benefit and a feature? The feature is the megapixels. The benefit, what I'm going to benefit from it, is taking nice pictures from the iPhone. And this is how you need to think about yourself as well. Perfect. I think we have. Okay. We already started the questions and Q&A. Please.
I wanted to ask you, when you're switching between the jobs in a short period of time, are there any risk factors that might appear on the CV?
As long as you have a story to back it up, it's fine. If you have the right story and you can explain that story in the right way. So, yes. I changed the position after 6 months in my probation period because I really didn't like the industry. But I shouldn't say this in an interview in that way. So when they ask me about the 6 months, I tell them that probation is a two-way test period. I'm testing the company and the company is testing myself if it's the right fit from both sides. And a lot of expectations weren't met when I was in my probation period in the first 6 months. A lot of expectations weren't met in terms of autonomy of work, in terms of flexibility, in terms of what they promised me when I did the interview. So I decided to leave in the probation period and hand over my position properly to someone else, because I didn't want to give them false hopes for the future and then leave after 8 months or 12 months. So it shows commitment, it shows professionalism, it shows that I did not just leave them in the wind. I gave them whatever I could, but it didn't work out, so I had to look for somewhere else. And it was all because I really didn't like the industry.
I have an additional question. When the pandemic hit in 2019, then we had 2020 and 21, where many people were being laid off. I noticed many videos that they were telling them how to answer the question what you did in this period.
Yeah.
But shouldn't most of the industries be on the same page that there's a pandemic? Because it might happen in the future.
Well, why do you want to expect from all companies to treat you the same? Even the people inside the same company that you're in, it's one company, right? But the departments are different and they will have different expectations. So why do I need to set this expectation to every company, every single, the millions of companies that are in the world? I shouldn't. All what I need to do is to do my part and close the gaps in my application. Okay, people were laid off. What were you doing in this time? I had a client that was telling me, so I was trying to sell a few stuff online, but I have a gap in my CV. But what gap? You were trying to sell stuff online. You were trying to do your own e-commerce business. What did you do? You created the page on social media. So you have social media skills and marketing skills. You started marketing it. You presented the product. You handled the supply chain, which is getting it from your closet in your room and sending it to the client. So you always have transferable experiences. You were just sitting on the couch in these 2 years doing nothing? No, of course you were doing something, even applying for a job. So I was applying for a job, but I was waiting, I was picky, and I was waiting for the right job for me. I did not accept any job out there. So this is something that you can tell to the recruiters. So that's something.
في سؤال بيقولوا لنا ايام الانترفيو دايما بسمعه لما بقولوا العالم لما حدا يعمل انترفيو انه شو تتوقع حالك بعد 5 years؟
Yeah, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Now, if you know the position, start always. Don't tell them that I want your position, or I want a manager position, or I want to go to another industry. If you're applying for an engineering position, focus on that position. Tell them that I want to really focus to excel in the position that I'm in now, grasp all the information that I can get in this position, and all the qualifications and the experiences that I can take in this position in the first 3 years. Then after that, I would like to start transferring these experiences to my colleagues, maybe in other departments, and to gain more information to add up to my portfolio. Then from 4 to 5 years, I would like to take a more senior role than the role that I'm in, but only if I feel confident enough that I gave everything to this position and this position gave me everything. So what you're telling them here, that you are not eager to jump from one place to the other. You did not mention a certain position that you have in mind. You just told them a more senior position than the position that I'm in after 5 years because you deserve it. Guys, 1 to 3 years, don't apply for another position. 3 to 5 years, inactively look for positions out there. To know your value, to train yourself for interviews, and you might get a very good opportunity that you missed out there. So make sure that your profile is complete on LinkedIn and your CV. After 5 years, if the company is not giving you what you need and what you want in terms of career progression, in terms of salary, in terms of bonuses, in terms of department, it's time for you to look elsewhere. So it's okay to tell them that in 5 years, yes, I want another position. I shouldn't stay in the same position my whole life. I need a new challenge, I need a higher salary, I need better benefits, I need to work my way up in my career. Maybe I want to transfer to another department. So it's fine that you draw where do you see yourself in 5 years. Well,
إذا شخص عمل دبل ميجر أونلاين يعمل لينك يعمل
اول شيء ايه بدنا نحطهم بسي في واحد بس انت وين شو بدك تستعملي على البوزيشن. It always depends on the position you're applying. You're applying for a position that requires one of those majors, focus on that major, put it on top. And you as fresh graduates, I forgot to mention this, put education before experience. But if you have good experience, rich experience, put the experience then education.